Today I'm here to talk to you about how to break the internet, driving media attention and PR. This specifically is tailored towards your go-market PR strategy when they're getting ready and things to consider. So hopefully, even though this isn't technical talk, it'll still be relevant to you guys here today. Quickly, just a little bit about me. I'm a dog mom to a husky, just turned 11. The thing is, I had a husky, you understand why you're afraid. He was a huge menace. They're just very goofy. I'm running the San Francisco Marathon this Sunday. Anyone else is running? Let's grab a beer after. I've been doing comms and PR for 11 years. I got involved through hackathons. We traveled around the world, organized hackathons, and then kind of took the wedding prototypes and you would say take it from seed to scale through our incubator. That is really kind of when blockchain got on my radar. Started seeing a lot of the winning prototypes have blockchain incorporated into them. And so I eventually made the leap over to blockchain and crypto the very beginning of 2020, relocated just for the pandemic for the job, which actually worked out in my favor because my family is super close. I love San Francisco. But I started my career at Ethereum Classic. My very first day on the job, I truly had no idea what I was getting myself into. While I did have a lot of the foundational elements from PR, I asked the CEO if I could just focus on one area for you on my first 3 days. He said, "Can you just please make the community less toxic towards us?" And so I was like, wow, okay, really headed over to the Discords and figured out, pull the history. And I was recruited by Kosh Network a year later. I was there for 2 years as their head of comms and content. Then I got to see the mainnet launch there. Came in just after the token launch. So really cool. Love the Cosmos ecosystem. Huge shout out to them. Coming from that Classic background, I wanted to get more experience with Ethereum. So I went to Consensys for a year to head up their developer PR and marketing for certain initiatives. That's kind of like when Lineo was born as well. And I got to see that go from just an idea. It's like over 100 million followers on Twitter, which was really cool. And now that kind of brings me to Aztec Network. That's where I'm at now. Just hit my 1 year today, actually. Okay. Thank you so much. Because the first year is definitely a grind. But so a little bit about Aztec. We are a courtesy first layer 2. And we are really empowering developers to build privacy conserving applications. We're a team of 70 researchers, photographers, developers, marketers all over the world. And founders started this journey 8 years ago, and they really had to go so far down in the tech stack to make this, what they're working on today, possible. Flog is the proving system, as you guys can see here. That was created in 2019. And then they even wrote their own coding language for developers to write privacy preserving applications. And that was in 2023 that Nor was born. In 2024, our DevNet went live, and most recently, we went to public testnet in May. Actually, this week, we did announce our adversarial testnet. So any of you guys want to go check it out, shameless plug. I joined Aztec because I was super passionate about privacy, and for me, it kind of felt like a missing link. They had a really robust product roadmap. Not only did they have a network, but they also had a coding language. And they had really great leadership. So enough about me, enough about Aztec. As I mentioned, today I'm here to talk to you guys about your go-to-market PR strategies. I want to do a quick little exercise. Quickly, how many marketers do I have in the world? Like marketers are calling us folks. Cool. Okay, perfect. Now, raise your hand if you think PR is really just posting on hikes. And then, for the best.
Well, I learned about it this weekend. Yeah, if you tell us your match card, we'll just...
This is definitely a part of it. Posting is definitely a part of it, but it should definitely not be the whole strategy, right? True or false? Raise your hand if you think this is true. PR is just cleaning up after marketing has made a mess.
Well,
It is a true question. Actually, we all came up after each other, and we're all teamed. What do you guys think PR stands for? Raise your hand if you think A. And B, and C. You guys are all correct. Okay, quickly, I want to just go over the history of what is PR and where it can come from. On your right, you're going to see Edward Bernays. He is known as the grandfather of public relations. He's actually the nephew of Sigmund Freud. He was initially a psychology major, so that is fascinating to me. Bernays applied his psychology and sociological ideas to influence public opinion, and that was really how PR came about. In 1923, he published a book that I find so relevant today. You guys should definitely read it if you're interested. It's called Crystallizing Public Opinion. And this really laid like the theoretical foundation for PR. And he worked on campaigns like Torches of Freedom, where he was encouraging, and very successfully, I might add, women to smoke cigarettes. And then he also worked on a campaign that basically made eggs and bacon and a staple in the American breakfast. So you can see like the long-lasting impact some of his work had in society. On the right here, you have IVV. He came just before Bernays, and he focused more on corporate transparency and crisis communications. He most famously worked on the Rockefeller family, or with the Rockefeller family during Ludlow massacre fallout, really helped reshape their public image. And then he also issued one of the very first press releases in 1906. Both really fascinating, guys. If you guys are interested, I suggest to read a little bit more. But since the late 1800s, obviously, like while the foundations are a little bit the same, tactics, technology, things have evolved. And so how we go to market looks a little bit differently. It's not just issuing a press release over the wire. Yeah. So today, I'm going to dive into all these things for you guys. Why do you care about it? Getting started with your GTM PR strategy, the media landscape, how to increase your chances to pick up. I'll give a few examples of hooks that move the needle. And then lastly, measuring your success. Okay. Perfect. This is one of our favorite names to use at Aztec. We use it time and time again in internal consultations. There's kind of this like general vibe of like in crypto, sometimes we just push something out on Twitter. We hope for the best. So this is Pablo Escobar waiting for product market fit. Don't be Pablo Escobar. So why do we do this? Why do we care about PR? So awareness is critical to all audiences. PR comms is like really, really top of funnel, just getting people to know about your product so that they can use it. And then also all audiences really want to see proof points that the project that they're passionate about is sending signal, because for them, that signals like funding, liquidity opportunities, so on and so forth. And then developers are not our only audience. So we need to engage all stakeholders, and that really includes like investors, potential partners, retail, KOLs, and then stakeholder engagement drives signal to developers as well. And then lastly, especially pre-product market fit, you have very few shots on goal, right? You have a testnet, you have an adversarial, you have a mainnet. There's very few moments that these editors are expecting to be pitched on your news. And so it's really important we're not going out too early, we're going out with correct information, and that you have a strategy in place as we go into your Vitamin fit. All right, so getting started on your GTM strategy, first is going to be resource allocation. It does take some time to get your PR function up and actively working for you, about 3 to 6 months to see results, and potentially even a year if you're well funded and your product roadmap is stacked. I would say like even bake in a full year to 8 months, maybe get a PR agency or a PR person in-house. Do you have the budget? So as I mentioned before, like, do you want to get an agency? Do you work with a contractor? Know what you have to work with and plan around that. And then do your spokespeople have time to put into PR? This is always a conversation that I first have when I joined a new company. Definitely had it with Zach and Joe. But I mean, on my end, I can do everything in my power to get them the interview, get them the speaking engagement. But do they have the time to give to that editor, to show up and give the talk? And so expectation setting with your spokespeople, super, super important. So at the end of the day, it is work for them as well. Secondly, when it comes to picking the right agency, You want to look for agencies with Web3 experience. So ask for case studies. Like, don't be afraid to ask for past client examples. Get really specific. If like, I want to see the work you've done with the NFTs, within DAOs. That's totally okay to say. And then you also want to prioritize agencies that have now gated like token launches, regulatory crises, exchange listings. Look for those really niche announcements because there's not all agencies are going to have experience within those, and it's just very high risk, high reward. You want to have the right folks on board. Also, gauge their media relations capabilities. So, do they have strong relationships with Coindesk, Cointelegraph, all the KOLs within your ecosystem at that time? It's okay to ask them, like, who is their go-to journalist or media publication? And then a bonus is they even have, like, a Telegram or Discord network where they're, like, fostering community, kind of talking with press or even KOLs. That's also going to be really, really beneficial. So that is something that I always try for. And it's not a requirement, but like I said, it's definitely a bonus. And then last, pick the right agency. Just don't be cautious of over promises and things that sound too good. In PR, press is never guaranteed. And if a PR person tells you otherwise, I want to know how they're doing it because it's mostly going to be earned media or paid. And the pay is the only way you can really guarantee placement. And what we're really after in your go-to-market strategies is earned media. Nail the narrative. And so this is obviously super important. First, you want to conduct a full PR audit and see how the landscape is already writing about you, how many mentions you have, and also do this for your competitors to see how they're being talked about in the press. And with kind of a stage of where you want to be within that overarching narrative. And then establish clear and concise messaging to audience type. So I don't know if anyone's heard the model KISS, keep it simple, stupid. It's probably not a PC term anymore, but in college it's what they taught. And it kind of stays true to this day. What I try to like tell folks is like, you just don't want to highlight too much at once. Focus on what's true now and why it's cool. And that will really get you where you need to go. And then lastly, don't be afraid to experiment. You can ask friendlies off the record. I chat with like my PR friends or like my press friends, a Telegram and Signal, probably like twice a month. Even if it's just like, hey, I saw you post this on Twitter, really cool article. Saw you had a baby, congrats. Like keep building that relationship so every time they like see your face pop up on a little notification, they're not like, oh, it's Kelsey, she's trying to pitch me. It's like you're giving them happy associations with your name. And then intern accounts. This is actually one of my favorite things to do. Like spin up intern accounts. It's super low risk. Test messaging. Even on like Reddit, you can do this and just see what's working and what people are responding to, whether it be positive, negative, or neutral. And then lastly, map key announcements to your milestones. This is super, super important. It really helps make everything that you're going to do on the PR side more impactful. So create a communications calendar that mirrors your product roadmap. If you're in an MVP testnet phase, focus more on like the community building and the earned media side of things. If you're going into a mainnet launch, you're obviously going to do a major press push around this, maybe even some KOL placements or engagement, and perhaps like an event activation. And then if it's just like a new feature, consider like a dev blog, maybe a demo, some targeted media that's specifically geared towards developers. And then time PR around real deliverables, not promises. So I think given that we're all in like the blockchain crypto space in a field that there is a lot of like vaporware essentially, you just want to be very, very careful that everything is like fully tested and audited before you out with that messaging. And then lastly, tailor messaging to the product stage. So if you're early stage, and this is probably like the easiest like TLDR I could give you guys. If you're early stage, you want to focus on vision. Was the problem you're solving? We've all seen opening the Silicon Valley, and they're just like pitching their product. Everyone's like, this is what we're, maybe not. Go home, watch Silicon Valley. It's scary.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, you want to enjoy. Yes, there's like a very like concise format. We're saving the world. We're solving X problem. it's climbable, but you really do want to focus if you're that early stage, like on the problem that you're solving and how your solution solves it, and then team credibility. And then mid stage, you can highlight traction, beta users, integrations, grants, things of that nature. And then late stage, you want to more so focus on like the performance, the scaling, the adoption, and the traction. All right. Increase your chances of coverage and pickup. As I mentioned, we launched our testnet in May, and I was super happy with the coverage we got in most of the top tier crypto outlets. And I did every single one of these tactics. So like, and they really do work. Pitch in advance. This is something that you might need to negotiate internally, working with your product team to make sure, as we know, timelines can always be a little bit valuable in this industry. So we did a lot of like ideation with our leadership team of like, okay, if we know the actual date on this date, when can we go out to press? And so we actually were able to get 2 weeks of pitching time. This provides reporters just the time to interview, maybe schedule the follow-up interview, get more recent sources for their story, actually write the story, and then all while like working in the newsroom with their editor as well. So they really do appreciate that kind of lead time. Timely to stay up to speed on the current A cycle and consider that in what you're pitching. And also you can consider like holidays and big industry moments as well. Press love to take vacation if like it's Labor Day in the US and what you're pitching is super applicable to the US market. Maybe pick like a different day or just pushed out, we'll just buy a week, and that'll help a ton as well. Provide visuals, that is number 3. Oftentimes, editors are working off like very quick deadlines, very quick turnarounds. And so you can provide them with like a dashboard or an image of or a demo or some kind of video. They will include that in their stories. And it just really, really helps them meet their deadline and then also make the story more appealing to their viewers. And then lastly is responsiveness. So if you're pitching something, it's your announcement that day, and you know you're going to have some inbounds. What we actually did is we had like a war room, just like a Google Hangout set up where people could pop in, hop out, and there were people in that Hangout entire day. So as I was getting inbound requests from additional publications, Zach and Joe, our CEO and president, were in that Hangout. And I can literally just sidebar with them and get comment immediately and turn that around super fast. Media landscape. So we have media at the top, retail, and then also just mass. The main takeaway I want you guys to take from this slide really is just that all 3 of these categories, they have super short attention spans. They only have like a very surface level amount of knowledge in terms of like what you're talking about. So that's kind of going back to like keep the message concise, talk only about what's true and how it's cool now. And that'll really help a ton. Hooks that move the needle. Editors are always looking for pitches like this. And so if you guys have milestones like this coming up, definitely good to work that into your PR strategy and calendar. So like blue chip partnerships and integrations do really, really well. We do a lot with that, even outside of just pitching. In terms of like a joint X Space or Alexa on social. Regulation and policy. This is a super hot topic right now. You're actually getting a lot of inbounds. This is the first team I actually worked with that had in-house legal. And so we're doing a lot of policy comms currently, and there's a lot of editors looking for comment on, Genius that just passed, among other things. Decentralization versus centralization. This is a really big conversation that people really always want to talk about. So if you have a hook that kind of feeds into this angle, definitely pitch it. Funding and investments, and then of course, user experience, adoption, product milestones. All right, I'm going to take this home for you guys right now. So measuring your success. I put an asset on Twitter and I was putting this presentation together, and this is like the only thing people wanted to know about was like ROI, and I totally get it. So first, as I mentioned prior, there's like earned and paid media. For the purpose of this presentation, we're really just focusing on current. Earned is unpaid, but you can look at like how many artful scores secured. What was the tier of those media publications? Is it a blog, or is it, CoinDesk? Is it Entrepreneur? See, you can kind of gauge like based on the tier of the publications you're securing. And then was the message that you pitched the one that was pulled through into the article? That's super important, because what we're trying to do with PR is really control the narrative, right? The second metric you can measure is really thought leadership. So you guys have the thought leadership strategy in place, which everyone should, because it's just, I always say faces and places, like people remember it. You think of Apple, automatically think of their CEO. You think of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. And so that's kind of a tactic that I've always pulled through into every company I've worked for. And you can look for, sorry, I think my slide got messed up, but it's okay. But you can actually look at like byline articles that are published, how many podcasts you've secured, the sentiment from those interviews, and then also how many panels have you secured for them, were they the right fit, what was the reach of maybe like the reels that you snipped from that and put on social. Lots of different ways to measure that. And then social and influencer reach. So mentions by crypto influencers, you can track the sentiment of this as well and just see like how they're talking about your project. Is it positive? Is it negative? Or is it neutral? And then engagement rate. So like likes, reposts, things like that. And then lastly, reputation and sentiment. So sentiment is really big in media relations. Essentially, you can... So essentially, like how is media talking about you? Again, crisis recovery metrics as well. So if you have a crisis, are you able to connect with the reporters that you need to connect with? Are they writing the stories that you're kind of leading them to write? And then community leader recognition. Is the ecosystem nationally like sending you inbounds to get your leaders on additional panels in this space? Are you getting inbounds from reporters for additional interviews about their subject matter expertise? These are all different ways you guys can measure PR. But like I said, it goes pretty far in line that you snip some of these, you snip like a talk into a reel, you put that in social. That's something you can also measure as well. All right. That is it. On Twitter at Kelsey Ruiz _, everywhere else in Kelsey Rue. Thank you guys so much.
Some Kelsey. Back 2 slides for me. I wanted to ask a question because this is the area of rule I live in. Keep going. There. Yes. No, back one more. Sorry. Gosh, I had a great question about one of the slides. I was. Okay, well, while I remember, it was so good, I almost stopped it, and I was like, no, I'll let you know.
You totally
I should have. I think PR is so important, and it's something that I feel like me and the people that I work with do not do enough about. Whether it's like our thought leadership, or whether it's our, what articles are we pushing, or, how do we plan stuff. Oh, I just remembered it. See if I get something to do with 2 weeks. Okay, yes. When you're about to launch a product in crypto, okay, and the crypto market, as I said, went really fast. Like if something happens in the space that affects your launching, what do you think about either launching in the face of something, like let's say that, Trump is launching that he's adopting like a new crypto policy, or a country's launching that they're stopping crypto policy. This happens to me a lot, and I often don't know. Like I think about narratives a lot or launching product, like and we. Like myself with Web3 Toronto and Web3 Cities Network globally, we host a lot of events. So I think about, okay, do we still do that event? Do we rebrand it? Do we push it back? But I think for a lot of people with how fast crypto moves, you have to be thinking, I'm sure you guys are thinking about, well, what is, something happened that's a crash or a big uptick? What do you think about like replaying around like competitive narratives, someone kind of said?
Yeah. So like would you move your announcement date if you found out like a competitor is also announcing on the same day kind of thing?
Yeah, like I'm thinking of something, Trump launched its open back in January, right? And the market was super hot. It was up. and now there is a trade war and the market has dropped from 100K to 80K, and people are very bearish, and so the team's thinking about, I know we're thinking about with our events anyway. Okay, well, what are narratives that our main customers are interested in, and then we'll move things up. We'll move things around based on that. But I'm sure, on lost products, I'm sure if I'm launching a product, oh shit, the market's down bad. A lot of tokens either did launch or have been postponing. But I just love to know your kind of what you talk to with your team about, the market just did a pop or a pop, do we wait? Do we hold?
Yeah.
And, I think I'll say the last thing I'll say is many tokens I know kind of launched anyway in what was a really bad time. And those projects are so down bad. So down bad. I don't know if those teams will, recover from a token that is crashed out in 95% down or worse. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the crypto market, it is so up and down that it's really hard to, plan your announcements around that. But, if we're in the middle of, a bear, right, you're not going to throw, a rooftop party with Diplo as a DJ where you clearly spent, $1 million on the party. That just feels, a little tasteless for the time, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same with announcements. You want to and typically the bear and a bull, they run for longer than 24 hours, which is the news Bible. So you can kind of plan around the bull or the bear in that way of just being I guess empathetic towards the industry when you're in a bear versus when you're in a bull. You're more excited and more bold, I guess, with your marketing and your PR. But yeah, in terms of you can't control being scooped. I mean, if you
scooped as someone else with a hotter story, you just got sidetracked.
You can keep a pulse on, the industry, right? I'm friends with a lot of different marketers in this space. I'm in a lot of different comms chats. And so if another project were to be gearing up for an announcement, I would probably catch wind of it and then advise my team, let's push this to the following week. But for example, when I very first started my career, I was doing hackathons. I was so excited. I got somebody local who I'm forgetting who it was. It was somebody local. I want to say his name was Jonathan. It's going to come back to me later. And he was at a come to our event. I was so excited. It's Global Demo Day. And I was super junior. I was oh my God, he's coming to our event. And then he messages me a couple hours later. And that was the day that Tim Cook came out with Yay. And so everybody was covering him. He wouldn't come to our event. He was I have to go interview the second cousin, third removed of Tim Cook. And so I was there's literally nothing you could do about that, right? And so sometimes you just have to find a way to work around it and push through. And other times, you really just got to keep a pulse on the narrative, talk to people in your industry, and try to do the best that you can in advance.
I love this topic because it's so hot. It's good. All right. Does anyone else have any other questions before I? Yes. All right. Good. Thank you. I'll start with you first.
Hey, you correct me if I'm wrong, but Aztec did a thing that launched maybe 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago. Is that correct?
Are you talking about Aztec Depth?
Yeah.
Yeah, we joked that they accidentally found product market fit. Yeah.
Oh, wait, is that a separate organization?
Also, they sunset it. Essentially, they've been building for the past 8 years, and the goal is always privacy. And so at Seek at first, they're let's build this Aztec Connect thing. And then they realize he can't get to our end goal with this product, but people did love it. So yeah.
That was they seen before you guys were in nowhere.
Yes, I believe that was in 2017, 2018, before no arts.
All right, you answered my question. I was going to ask how the branding was separated by so that's.
Hey, Dusty. Real quick, you had mentioned intern accounts, and it kind of stuck in my mind. Yes, when you're doing the intern accounts, are you doing them from your company, or for the idea that it's an intern account is in kind of from a outside perspective, say on Twitter, or are they intern from your company, or is the point that they're outside of your testing and marketing?
We actually kind of do both. Yeah, that makes sense. That we actually kind of do both. And there's not just one way to do this. I mean, on our main account, we get big intern energy. We'll coach out a tweet, and some people will be GM intern, and fun and be GM. I will be like, well, the intern have fly, and then she'll like, here I am. So we do a little bit of it on main, and our community loves it. But then we also do have like an account that was just set up forever ago, and we're like, no one's using us. Like, should we like test some messaging here? So I won't tell you guys what account it is. So we like spun up some like full branding for it, and it's just like almost as like a side project for our social media manager. She will sometimes be like, I don't know about this. This feels a little too bold. Then we'll tell her like put it on the intern account. We'll see if it gets any likes. And so we also do have another community of like diehard Aztecians who love to tweet or just very social, to put them all in a group chat, and sometimes they will have to go out and like tweet for us as well. But mostly like in terms of like the experimenting with messaging, like we try to do that mostly like from in-house. But for example, if one of those like Aztecians went out there, tweeted something that was really resonating, like we would take that as an input in our marketing and messaging.